Chapter 2. The doctor of medicine and surgery, Christian Ivanovich Rutin-Spitz, a very hale though elderly man, with thick eyebrows and whiskers that were beginning to turn grey, eyes with an expressive gleam in them that looked capable of routing every disease, and lastly with orders of some distinction in his breast, was sitting in his consulting rooms that morning in his comfortable armchair. He was drinking coffee, which his wife had brought him with her own hand, smoking a cigar, and from time to time writing prescriptions for his patients. After prescribing a draught for an old man who was suffering from hemorrhoids and seeing the aged patient out by the side door, Christian Ivanovich sat down to await the next visitor. Mr. Golyatkin walked in. Apparently, Christian Ivanovich did not in the least expect nor desire to see Mr. Golyatkin, for he was suddenly taken back for a moment, and his countenance unconsciously assumed a strange, and one may almost say displeased expression, as Mr. Golyatkin almost always turned up inappropriately and was thrown into confusion whenever he approached anyone about his own little affairs. On this occasion, too, he was desperately embarrassed, having neglected to get ready his first sentence, which was invariably a stumbling block for him on such occasions. He muttered something, apparently an apology, and not knowing what to do next, took a chair and sat down, but realizing that he had sat down without being asked to do so, he was immediately conscious of his lapse, and made haste to efface his offense against etiquette and good breeding by promptly getting up again from the seat he had taken uninvited. Then, on second thoughts, dimly perceiving that he had committed two stupid blunders at once, he immediately decided to commit a third, that is, try to right himself, muttered something, smiled, blushed, was overcome with embarrassment, sank into expressive silence, and finally sat down for good and did not get up again, only to protect himself from all contingencies. He looked at the doctor with that defiant glare which had an extraordinary power of figuratively crushing Mr. Golyatkin's enemies and reducing them to ashes. This glance, moreover, expressed to the full Mr. Golyatkin's independence, that is to speak plainly, the fact that Mr. Golyatkin was alright, that he was quite himself like everybody else, and that there was nothing wrong in his upper story. Christian Ivanovich coughed, cleared his throat, apparently in token of approval and assent to all this, and bent an inquisitorial interrogative gaze upon his visitor. "I've come to trouble you a second time, Christian Ivanovich," began Mr. Golyatkin with a smile, "and now I venture to ask your indulgence a second time." He was obviously at a loss for words. Yes," pronounced Christian Ivanovich, puffing out a spiral of smoke and putting down his cigar on the table. "But you must follow the treatment prescribed to you. I explained to you that what will be beneficial to your health is a change of habits. Entertainment, for instance, and, well, friends, you should visit your acquaintances, and not be hostile to the bottle, and likewise keep cheerful company." Mr. Golyatkin, still smiling, hastened to observe that he thought he was like every one else, that he lived by himself, that he had entertainments like everyone else, that of course he might go to the theatre, for he had the means like every one else, that he spent the day at the office and the evenings at home, that he was quite all right. He even observed in passing that he was, so far as he could say, as good as anyone, that he lived at home, and finally, that he had Petrushka. At this point, Mr. Goryatkin hesitated. No, that is not the order of proceeding that I want. And that is not at all what I would ask you. I'm interested to know, in general, are you a great lover of cheerful company? Do you take advantages of stive occasions? And well, do you lead a melancholy or cheerful manner of life? Kristen Ivanovich, I'll tell you, shouted the doctor, that you must have a radical change of life, must in a certain sense break in your character. Kristen Ivanovich laid special stress on the word break in, and paused for a moment with a very significant air. Must not shrink from gaiety, must visit entertainments and clubs, and then in any case be not hostile to the bottle. Sitting at home is not right for you. Sitting at home is impossible for you. I like quiet, Christian Ivanovich, said Mr. Grakin with a significant look at the doctor and evidently seeking words to express his ideas more successfully. In my flat there's only me and Petrushka. I mean my man, Christian Ivanovich. I mean to say, Christian Ivanovich, that I go my way, or my own way, Christian Ivanovich. I keep myself to myself, and so far as I can see, I'm not independent. I'm not dependent on anyone. I go out for walks too, Christian Ivanovich. What? Yes. Well, nowadays there's nothing agreeable in walking. The climate's extremely bad. Quite so, Christian Ivanovich. Though I'm a peaceable man, Christian Ivanovich, as I have had the honor of explaining to you already, yet my way lies apart. Christian Ivanovich, the ways of life are manifold. I mean to say, Christian Ivanovich, excuse me, Christian Ivanovich, I have no great gift for eloquent speaking. I say, you must excuse me, Christian Ivanovich, that as far as I can see, I am no great hand at eloquence in speaking. Mr. Golyakin articulated, stammering and hesitating in half a grieved voice. In that respect, Christian Ivanovich, I'm not quite like other people, he added with a peculiar smile. I can't talk much, and have never learned to embellish my speech with literary graces. On the other hand, I act, Christian Ivanovich. On the other hand, I act, Christian Ivanovich. How is that you act? Responded Christian Ivanovich. Then silence followed for half a minute. The doctor looked somewhat strangely and mistrustfully at his visitor, Mr. Golyakin, for his part, too, stole a rather mistrustful glance at the doctor. Christian Ivanovich, he began, going on again in the same time as before, somewhat irritated and puzzled by the doctor's extreme obstinacy. I like tranquility and not the noisy gaiety of the world. Among them, I mean, in the noisy world, Christian Ivanovich, one must be able to polish the floor with one's boots. Here Mr. Golyakin made a slight scrape on the floor with his toe. They expect it, and they expect puns too. One must know how to make a perfumed compliment. That's what they expect there, and I've not learned to do it, Christian Ivanovich. I have never all those tricks. I have never had the time. I am a simple person and not ingenious, and I have no external polish. On the side, I surrender, Christian Ivanovich. I lay down my arms, speaking in that sense. All this Mr. Glacken pronounced with an air which made it perfectly clear that our hero was far from regretting that he was laying down his arms in that sense, and that he had not learned these tricks. Quite the contrary, indeed. As Christian Ivanovich listened to him, He looked down with a very unpleasant grimace on his face, seeming to have a presentiment of something. Mr. Gracken's tirade was followed by a rather long and significant silence. You have, I think, departed a little from the subject, Mr. Ivanovich said at last, in a low voice. I confess I cannot altogether understand you.